We were just so worried we were going to lose him. There was no light at the end of the tunnel because we didn't know what it was. We didn't know what we were dealing with. It was a really, really hard time. The first sign that Finn was ill was in July 2016. He was 4.5 and he'd just had his last day of preschool. And one of his friends wanted to have a picture taken with him and he didn't want to, and he loved her, but I couldn't understand it. And he said, I've got a headache, I've got a really bad headache, which for a 4-year-old isn't normal. And he continued like that for days. So we went to the doctors, and that was the beginning of going backwards and forwards to the doctors and the hospital. It wasn't until a week or 2 later when he had an MRI, and that was when we first knew that something was seriously wrong.
When I first started to feel unwell, it was dreadful. It was like a weight had been put on me. Every morning I would be screaming in pain with headaches, and not knowing about a cure, that just wasn't, it was very horrible.
For me as Finn's mum, it was just really scary because there's nothing you can do. You're in the hands of the doctors, and they didn't know what it was. Finding out that Finn had CNS isolated HLH and finally having a diagnosis, whilst terrifying, actually gave us something to focus on, and knowing that there was a potential cure if he was able to have a stem cell transplant gave us hope, and for the first time in a while, a chance of a future. But then we found out about the stem cell database being so low in numbers, and then we were scared again. What if Finn didn't have a match? What if they searched the world and there was no one there for Finn? It was several months before we found out that there was a match for Finn in the world. And it was a massive relief, huge. When they told Jose that he was giving to a child, he said he burst into tears because he's a father himself, and he felt it. He knew what it was going to mean to us. Jose gave Finn a second chance at life. Without him, this is the moment that Jose and Finn met live on TV when the show this morning flew him over from his home country of Brazil. He'd never even left Brazil before, and he flew 14 hours to come and meet us. It was so wonderful to actually meet him and get to thank him in person and hear everything from his side as well, and he said he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Finn is our world, and I never wanted to have to imagine a world without him in it. And Finn's 2 donors have both given us that, our world, still with us every day, thriving and getting to enjoy every second. It's everything. Finn had his second stem cell transplant in December 2022, but he was discharged on the 10th of January, and amazingly, other than to go in and have his central line out in July, he hasn't been readmitted once. He's been back at school since Easter, and since he's had his line out, doing everything that any other 11-year-old should.
I feel much, much, much better. I feel much more energetic. I can swim, I can be an hour away from the hospital. If I have a temperature, I can have paracetamol and not just have to go into hospital for 2 days whilst they test my bloods. My favourite thing to do now that I've had my transplants are that I can go back to school, and I can also just have fun without being in hospital in a room. I can have fun outside, and I can be at home. That's one of my favourite things, is to be at home and not be in the hospital room. Without my donor, I wouldn't be here today, because he gave me a second chance in life.
We want that for every other person that's waiting for their match too. Please sign up to the DKMS Stem Cell Register.